You open up your phone and you start to feel inferior. You see people's beautiful paradise vacation, that new shiny car. Wow, that girl has a new Louis Vuitton bag. Didn't she get a Gucci one last week? Sensationalism, being rich, these aesthetics have warped our minds to value the wrong things because these people are so happy showing them off. So subconsciously, we're watching that and we're like, wow, that would make me happy too. I need that so I can also show that off. But guess what? Many people work a job they hate to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. So today I'm going to share with you what true lasting happiness is, how to get it, and how to stop feeling so pressured to chase the wrong things. I'm Amy, and why am I able to speak on this topic? Well, it's because I came from a very, very frugal background. I basically don't remember a single time when I bought a piece of clothing at full price with my parents. We would go straight to the clearance section. A bunch of things that I think people take for granted when they show them off online, they were never even a consideration for the majority of my life. And I think that's built some values within myself that have made me actually really, really content and happy with my own life and to feel fulfilled and achieved in what I do. And I think from what I see right now with the loneliness pandemic, toxic productivity, toxic social media, whatever people struggle with, what I experience now in the strength of my own beliefs is a stark contrast to others when they might feel emptiness and they might feel like they don't know how to achieve true happiness, because when people buy something new or they expect their achievements to bring them happiness, the opposite actually occurs. A few weeks ago, I woke up at 8 a.m. and by 9 a.m. I was tutoring one of my students. Halfway through, my eyes suddenly fell off. On the right corner of my vision, words were missing when I looked at my computer screen. It suddenly turned blurry and watery. If you're familiar with migraines, you may know that this is what people call an aura. Essentially, this is the first stage of a migraine where your vision starts to go away. Like half of your vision disappears. It's so weird. It's like you have a painting in front of you and half of it is just smeared. When this happens, I cannot recognize people's faces. Like if my loved one came in front of me in the grocery store and I had a migraine at the time, like I would not recognize them. So what I had to do, this wasn't the first time. By now I had learned to kind of push through the pain, honestly. So I asked my student, hey, can I turn the camera off? Not feeling too well. And we continued the tutoring session with me closing my eyes like half the time, just trying to power through, typing blindly. And I think my student didn't really know how much pain I was in, which is great because that was my goal. I wanted to finish the session then I can just collapse into my bed afterwards. And in the second stage, it comes with a lot of nausea, like I want to throw up, and there's this extreme pounding pain on one side of your head. It's the opposite side as the aura. So if your aura with the vision was on the right side, then the pain would be on the left side. It makes sense because if you learned AP psychology, you know that one side of your brain controls the opposite side of your eyes or your arms and your movements. These migraines, right? I've been living with them for over 12 years by now. I think one of the first ones I had was summer after 5th grade. It was an incredibly scary experience. And honestly, every time it happens, it's still so scary and debilitating. Especially when I was in school, I would just have to be shameless and put my head on my arms and try to push through it. Or I would go to the nurse's office to get sent home because I literally could not stay in school in my state. There's that context here for the beginning of the story. This day, my fiance and I were supposed to go to a nice omakase restaurant to celebrate me getting 200,000 subscribers. The reservation was like 12:30, and when I had this migraine and I had to recover in bed, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, please let this be a faster recovery period such that I can actually go to this omakase reservation. I always feel really, really bad at the prospect of letting people down when I have this health issue. So I slept it off, most of it at least, and by the time my alarm went off, we were like, okay, you know what? I can still go. So we originally tried to take an Uber, but it was very slow. We were stuck in traffic, so we got out. Sean was like, are you sure you can do this? I was like, yeah, I'm sure. I feel like this disorder, on the bright side, has given me more strength. Like, I feel like I have a very high pain tolerance, so I can push through a lot of things. So we walked through the busy, crowded New York streets, winding in and out as my head was still pounding because it hadn't fully recovered. I was determined that by the time I get there, I would still enjoy the experience and what Sean had planned for me. I was so grateful that I made it though, because once we got to this omakase experience, it was so eye-opening, not just the food was delicious, but it was also in the beauty and precision and the passion that our chef Marino had for each dish. Just watching that experience unfold before you gives you such appreciation for the different kinds of people in the world with special talents and passions. This was my first time having such an experience, and I know omakase is relatively expensive, which is why this was for a celebration, but I definitely recommend you try it at least once in your lifetime. I love sushi, so this was amazing. Chef Marino was very friendly, so I started asking him questions as he was preparing our little dishes. I asked him, how long has he been doing this? He said 8 years. Wow, no wonder each slice was incredibly precise, thin pieces of the most perfect fish, charred to perfection, added the perfect amount of wasabi, all that little detail, right? I just gained so much appreciation for his craft. And it's not an accident that he's so good, because he spent 8 years doing this. I dug deeper, and previously he had a bunch of different kind of random jobs almost, but he learned about his passion for cooking when he was in this cohort of people, I think, working at a rehabilitation center, something like that. When he found that passion, he just knew he had to chase it. So he gave all he got to get to where he was, which was a Michelin star level chef who gets to do this every single day. And when I say that phrase, it's he gets to do it because that's how much he loves it. But guess what? He only sees the sun once a day. It's when he wakes up and he goes to work, and then he leaves past midnight. That repeats almost every single day. Many times throughout the year, he has to wake up earlier and cannot even see the sun for days at a time. He is so passionate about his craft that his second passion, MMA, mixed martial arts, he decided to put that aside for now just so he could focus on this. And that was also very admirable, because I'm someone who has a lot of interests and I struggle really pushing hard in one direction because I feel FOMO for the other areas. But he showed that when you focus on one thing, even if it's so difficult in the eyes of other people, if you love it, that is completely worth it. That's worth all of the energy and time, because it's yours. It's like your life, and that's your love. People might not understand it, but they can find their own love, right? So I think that's like the core of a happy and fulfilled life, when you find your thing that you desire. So then you continue to embrace and cherish it. And you cherish it by cultivating it, by continuing to get better at your craft, and to honestly be happy and friendly with the people he served too. Like, you could tell he was enjoying his life because of his positive energy that he just radiated. And I just remember that I want to be that kind of person regardless of what kind of cards that I might be dealt. Something striking and interesting about this experience in particular, when I went with Sean to this omakase place, I just rolled out of bed. I was very disheveled, no makeup on, whatever, right? It's a nice restaurant, so I probably should have gotten ready, but I just came from a migraine. We sat down, and next to us, there were two Asian girls. They started speaking Chinese, so okay, we knew they were Chinese. And obviously mainlanders, for some reason, we can pick that out. They were head to toe wearing luxury goods. This girl in a Miu Miu shirt with Chanel berets and Chanel earrings. Basically, everything you can see on them was with a luxury brand label. We eavesdropped a little on their conversation as they were eating this pretty pricey meal. It seemed like it was just an everyday lunch to them. They were chatting about, oh, what is this other Michelin star restaurant that you've been to, and like pulling up pictures of really fancy steaks, just really absorbed on their phones and future perspective experiences rather than in the current moment. It was just a huge contrast because Sean and I were there like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing experience. We're like chewing every bite super, super slowly, letting our tongue just like absorb all the flavors, savoring this moment. While these two girls next to us, it was like an everyday meal. And they were honestly not very present. When the chef placed a new dish in front of them, they wouldn't even lift their eyes up from their phones to acknowledge that they got this dish. They just started eating the food with their eyes still glued to their screens. And granted, English is not their first language, but they could speak English. So I think we cannot base how great or achieved someone's life is based off of their material possessions and the resources, but also maybe their ability to have these kinds of simple happy things in life, like getting to know a stranger and learn about their life. Maybe to an outsider, and if they saw those two girls on social media, their immediate reaction might be, wow, they have everything. But the reality is that I saw when I was eating in their presence is that they actually don't have everything, because I have experiences that they don't have, and they have experiences that I don't have. It's not possible to have everything. You can't have everything, and that's a great thing. That means that you can be selective about what you care about. You can prioritize those things in your life and brutally cut the other ones. That means you don't have to feel bad about missing out on things that you actually don't care about, It's interesting, maybe I'm just saying this in a biased way, but I would rather be like able to stay present and enjoy these moments. Just as a reminder, this isn't judging anyone by any means, but I would just want to use this story, an example of how happiness isn't defined by what you have. So these two girls, they also started talking about buying houses or like properties in Manhattan. So yeah, we basically knew that obviously they were loaded, but it was also pretty obvious that they came from money. It wasn't like they were self-made, because they were also like very young. I don't know about how their lives are exactly. I only know how my life. And I realized in that moment, even though I don't have a drop of the luxurious lifestyle that they have, I'm so incredibly happy and grateful for where I am now, even though I just had a migraine, even though everything like we have right now, like this is a very rare experience and that I worked for. I'm so happy we're here because we worked for it. We are celebrating something that I could never have imagined. Well, technically I did imagine it because that's why I worked so hard for it. But when you actually achieve it, it's just kind of unbelievable. It's like something you were trying for so long. when I started my YouTube journey, it honestly felt really, really hopeless because there were so many nights when I was staying up, waking up every 2 hours, continuing to finish my video with the help of my editor, and then another night when I was waking up at 5 a.m. and Sean would always tell me like, wow, I'm actually very amazed at how you choose to put yourself through this struggle, this pain, right? I chose this path and I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm happy because it's not someone telling me to wake up at 5 a.m. to work on this video. It's not someone telling me to pull an all-nighter and continue making content. So in that moment, I just felt like I'm very content and present with who I am and the life that I have with the cards I've been dealt. I think that I was really proud of myself in that moment, and with Sean, really grateful for doing the most that I think I could be doing with what I have. Our goal each day should be to fall asleep feeling proud of our efforts and that we did the most with what we have. I feel like a lot of people, they think about their limits too much, such that they don't even try to come even close to it. That's actually something James Clear talks a lot about in his book Atomic Habits, which just really struck a chord with me because I was thinking that too, but I couldn't really put it in words as eloquently as he did. But it's like we look at other people and how rich they might be. Maybe they're a Nepo baby, and we just think, you know what? I can never get as far as them, so why even try? But the thing is, we are not even allowing ourselves to get to our highest potential. So say if we start at 0, for example, and we see someone at 100, well, we think, oh, I can't get to a 100 because that person is naturally smarter, they're prettier, they're richer, whatever. But then we don't even allow ourselves to get to 50, you know? But in that moment, I was like, oh, you know what? It's kind of a insightful, eye-opening experience too, to see those two girls there who are obviously from different worlds, different paths of life, but I'm just observing it from a very stoic, matter-of-fact point of view. Like, life is so cool. There's so many different people, and I am a unique individual that, I'm pretty proud of how I've been doing, because my life is the only one that I really understand. So that's why it ties into what I was saying in the beginning, right? Like, just because people might have things or they show them off, it doesn't mean anything, because you don't know how content they actually are. Maybe when they go to a fancy restaurant, they're on their phones the whole time and can't take it in. In fact, I was thinking with Sean, like, wow, I'm so happy we get to experience these joys in life. Because this is rare, we are savoring it more, and it's such an exciting experience. We're not going to tap out of these amazing experiences because we're going to keep earning them, and then we can always grow. Like, it's a blessing that we didn't start at the top. Yes, I acknowledge it would still be great to start out rich and then still work hard, and then you can do amazing things for the world, like build your own nonprofit, things like that. I'm just saying that whatever you have, think of it as a blessing, that like everything is working out in your favor. Everything that's happened the way it happened was meant to be like that. I feel like I always have to add caveats because I don't have this back and forth conversation with someone, right? These are solo podcast episodes, and there might be some generalizations because if I caveat everything, the episodes would be like 5 times as long. But I say this because I've actually heard from friends where their rich friends are actually depressed because they have everything handed to them. They were born with a silver spoon in their mouths, and so that actually when they play video games all day and they can buy whatever they want, they feel like there's not much meaning in their life. You can still find meaning if you're born rich, but I just think like pursuing something and growing is part of what makes life interesting and exciting and fulfilling. So yeah, for anything, please know that there are caveats. I just might not be saying all of them. Be discerning at the end of the day. Be discerning to whatever content or perspective you consume. My path of struggling myself through school and with migraines and still achieving things despite these quote unquote disadvantages. All of these things led me to this moment right here. I would not have done any of these if I was rich. My life would be completely different. And I wouldn't know if I would still be happy if I was rich, but that doesn't even matter because I know that in this moment, I'm proud of myself. See, when we become so focused and absorbed on ourselves, when we look at people online and on social media, it becomes a very objective, matter-of-fact consumption. It's not like we have to always be comparing it to ourselves. We can view what other people do, what other people have in a stoic way, without judgment, without comparison, because all we know is our lives. You should never think I want to trade my life for someone else's because you would take on all the problems that person has that you wouldn't know and that you wouldn't know how to deal with because you're not that person. Another fantastic reason for why I felt the need to share this story is I love sushi, but for many years, I only thought I could eat tuna. I thought that I was allergic to every other fish. Then one day, I think it was in high school, I tried some salmon. I was like, wait, I can eat this. So from then on, I ate tuna and salmon. I would always miss out on the 水煮鱼, the delicious spicy fish from Sichuan restaurants. I would always miss out on the other fancy sushis. But before this omakase experience, Sean took me to another much cheaper place where I tried a bunch of fish. If you have allergies, probably don't do what I did, but it's because I had a feeling that I wasn't actually that allergic to many fish. I was definitely allergic to catfish, sea bass and tilapia because I've had really bad reactions with them before, but I don't know, we decided to take the leap this time. And turns out I could eat all of the fish that cheaper sushi place gave me. I was ecstatic because I love sushi. I loved sushi, even only being able to try salmon and tuna out of the fishes. So that's another thing that I'm grateful for. These simple things, right? Not being allergic to these fish so I can enjoy this kind of experience. My sister is very allergic to peanuts, and many people are allergic to peanuts, so she can't enjoy things like Reese's Cups. And I love Reese's Cups. So I think it's we really have to be grateful for what we have because we take that for granted. It's so obvious the things we don't have because we feel that lack, right? This is why I preach this a lot on my channel, to stay grateful. And if you do compare, to compare yourself in a way that is positive to you. I saw a comment the other day that's about my most popular episode about why we should work hard and want to study because it's a privilege. That comment said, oh, I can't use guilt and comparison to motivate me. Well, the thing is, comparison doesn't have to be so negative and jealousy driven, right? I can compare myself to my sister in terms of a peanut allergy and be like, oh man, I'm so sorry for your loss of Reese's Cups. I'm grateful for these little things. People feel bad about themselves when they see what they lack, but when you see what other people might lack compared to yourself, not in a way that's pitying them, but only then can you be aware of the little things you have. This comparison and knowledge of other people's lives gives me greater awareness of my blessings. And even though I know everyone else around me doesn't experience migraines like I do, I also don't have to compare that in a negative way towards me. I can think of it as just very matter of fact in a stoic manner because I focus on what I can control, and what I can control is my reaction to having this disorder. I can even take it a step farther and make this a positive thing because now I can make a lot of people online feel like they're not alone in these kinds of physical disadvantages. To whatever extent that physical disadvantage is, I think I can still help bring a voice to inspire others that, our only limits are really ourselves. That day, starting with a migraine while I was tutoring, meeting the sushi chef, seeing those two rich Chinese girls next to us, it was just something that brought so many thoughts to my mind and just made me realize a lot about life. That's why I share it. I wish it was fresher in my mind, honestly. I meant to share it closer to when it actually happened, but life has been very chaotic. Not that that's an excuse, but I think that these podcast episodes really require me to be in a state of mind and no one else being at home such that I can make them in a higher quality way. I want to leave you with this. A good life and happiness isn't in the absence of hardship. Having struggles and overcoming them is what makes life beautiful and makes you proud at the end of the day. When people buy a luxury good, for that happiness to last, it has to be what that luxury item represents. And this also doesn't have to be a luxury item, okay? I'm just using that as an example. We can also use this for any little thing you treat yourself with, like as simple as eating ice cream after you finish writing your essay. It's the joy of that you earned it, or that it's bringing you this kind of positive feedback loop for you to continue doing things that are great for you. If you took a break, if you took a vacation, if you just treated yourself in some way, it represents something, That break represents you looking after yourself and loving yourself. And if it's something you got to celebrate yourself, then hey, that thing represents your milestone. It's a physical trophy almost. And really, the things you earn also don't have to be tangible. I do need to learn how to package everything in a more tight way, but what you gain can also be your talent that's within you. I think that's even more important, right? Like you can treat yourself to give that positive feedback loop and to have physical items that represent your progress, but what's even more important is for you to know the value inside of yourself that has been enhanced by your efforts. So our sushi chef Marino, right, he's worked 8 years on his craft, and sure, he has a position at a Michelin star restaurant right now, but he knows himself that, even if he didn't have the people recognize his brilliance, that like at least he knows of his brilliance, and because of that, he can go places. You knowing your self-worth is what really matters. It's not the number of likes on a social media post. It's not the number of eyeballs you have on a video. First of all, you have to understand your value and you have to place your judgment above other people. That's how we can be happier, when you start to live for yourself and not for the approval of others. It's really hard, but I've really just learned that this is the core of why I'm so happy now. Because when I studied and worked hard to recruit for difficult jobs, I realized that all of that, they might have been triggered by some external knowledge of this being prestigious or desired in society, but really it was my own pride in myself. I was like, you know what? I'm someone who works hard, and I'm gonna keep acting in alignment with that. And doing that makes me proud, and that's what matters at the end of the day. That's what makes me so happy to continue converting my time in an effective way. I'm not saying you're productive 100% of the time. I'm just saying that you want to value your time in your life and who you are, such that you will have a low tolerance for activities that are like brain rot, or that just like simply don't give you any value, right? I reframe productivity as also taking a walk outside in nature, enjoying lunch with a loved one. These things are all valuable uses of your time that bring you lasting joy. I think I said that I was going to conclude this, but I will now actually conclude this by sharing one of my favorite concepts or quotes that I read from Mark Manson, the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F word. Choose your struggle. Happiness comes from solving problems, but problems will never end in life. The goal is to have better and meaningful problems. We need to choose our struggle because that's inevitable. You are defined by what you're willing to struggle for. It's beautiful, perfectly ties up with the theme of today's episode about the amazing sushi chef Marino. He chose his struggle as waking up super early in the morning, going to prepare his materials, his ingredients, and barely seeing the sun and having to give up his second love. Fun fact, I actually have a friend who quit his software engineering job to pursue his dream of becoming a chef. And now he's a line cook, and he cooks from like 12 p.m. past midnight, 5 to 6 days a week. His hands are like burned. And to me, because that's not my life and not the struggle I would choose, I'm like, wow, that's like crazy. But to him, it's something he loves and brings him joy. So I encourage you to really reflect on what makes your I don't know, I said that so weird. I encourage you to reflect on what makes your life your best life, because the key word there is your. Keep this mindset whenever you start to get pulled in and tempted by those social media posts. I think that's also why, knock on wood, in case I change my preferences, but that's also why I don't really care for luxury goods. Like maybe, I can treat myself 1-1 right now, but I would just rather spend my time and money on experiences right now, And again, not like judging people who do like luxury goods, but I'm just saying like my preference is like, you know what, if I have a bag that's like good enough. And that's also why I'm not going to be tempted by people showing off their luxury bags as if it is something that we should all strive for. Because I'm so strong in my opinions and my likes that just because it seems like every girl on social media buys this bag or does this thing, like I'm not going to be swayed. So it's about, again, trusting your own judgment, the recurring theme here. Centering around yourself and being more grounded is a win-win because, first of all, when you go on social media and you're seeing all of these ads and influencers trying to get you to buy things and jump on bandwagons, then you won't be swayed as much by them. But also, number 2, you will not even want to spend that much time consuming that content in the first place. So consider how you can change your values in a way that's conducive to your own growth. Instead of following and looking up to people who have such luxurious lifestyles, instead of aspiring to be like them, well, aspire to be like inspiring people. Be inspired by people who have found their loves and passions and who are dedicated toward them. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give me a 5-star review. And if you're on YouTube, please give me a like. That would help so much. And if you thought I could do something better, then please comment. I'm always looking for feedback so I can improve and help you all live happier, more fulfilled lives and support you in reaching your potential, because I so believe in everyone having such high, unique potential. We just need to do justice to it and reach it. Bye.